To make a good film, filmmakers face many challenges. Conveying a scene's message is probably one of the biggest. There are only so many things that can just be shown with dialogue. Filmmakers knew this and wanted to break out of that restriction, so with the invention of colored film in 1906, they were able to move away from the ears and turn to the eyes to tell their story. So how did they use color in film? Blade Runner 2049 director Denis Villeneuve and cinematographer Roger Deakins used color not just for the sci-fi visual aesthetic, but to help convey the development of the characters. Take this scene. No dialogue, I'm not even playing the clip, but what does it tell you? The yellows, the sharp blacks and shadows, the set, the aggressiveness of the skull. You can probably assume that this is the antagonist, and it is. Meet Wallace, one of the main antagonists in Blade Runner 2049. Wallace's theme in this movie is yellow. Yellow is generally seen as a color of fear, and it shows in this movie. Yellow is shown in scenes that are filled with suspense. Wallace's HQ also only consists of yellow and black tones. The villainous yellow is used to contrast to the blue tones of the protagonist, Joe. Joe's story is all about self-acceptance and finding out who he truly is. His story starts like every other Chosen One character arc, but he learns that he is not all he sought to be, then risks his life to protect who he thought he was. With this, he loses everything he loved. This is Joe after he lost his identity and the love of his life. The film likes to paint his constant heartbreak as it progresses. Shots with just Joe or scenes that showcase his growth as a character are more and more washed in blue, and when the conflict is resolved, the saturation of the blue reverts how it was at the beginning of the film, coming full circle. Color can not only convey how a character grows, but how a character feels. Spike Jonze used this spectacularly in his film, Her. Her follows Theodore as he deals with the divorce of his wife while finding new love with an OS, Samantha. Her's color scheme makes it very pleasing to the eye while helping to convey the main character's emotional state. The two colors we see most throughout the film are red and pink, especially because this is something Theodore wears. But when you step out of the bright pastel office and into the real world, you get a glimpse of his emotional state. The city is desaturated and painted a dark blue, and this is a very common theme. This directly contrasts with the flashback scenes coming up next when he was still with his wife and how saturated and bright they look. The same concept is seen whenever Theodore goes on his first date with Samantha. The way scenes are bright and saturated even at night. Her used its saturation to detail Theodore's lowest point. When he found out Samantha was in love with someone else, everything went bleak. There was no color, white and brown were all we saw. Theodore even stopped wearing red, something he only did on a blind date that didn't go well. In the last scene in the movie, Jonze uses his colors in the way that he hasn't before, but in a way that makes sense and perfectly conveys the bittersweet emotional state of the characters. Theodore and Amy are shown on a rooftop watching a dark blue city with its bright and saturated lights. The setting sun barely reflects on the clouds as they mourn the loss of their beloved OSs, but are optimistic about their future. The choice by the director to combine these colors in this way makes sense based on how the other emotions are conveyed within the film. With the bleak blue loneliness and the bright loving reds, it leaves the audience feeling more empathetic and connected with these characters. Directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet, Amélie is a film renowned for its storytelling, humor, and most important to us, its cinematography. Jeunet even went as far as taking the digital images and mastering them on 35mm film stock as to have more control over the colors. This made every color choice extremely time-consuming and intentional. This gave the film an immersive atmosphere that literally puts the audience in Amélie's world. The color scheme represents what Amélie desires the most: love. Amélie lacked love as a kid. A distant dad imprisoned Amélie in her home due to mistaken diagnosis, and a mom was crushed by a person trying to commit suicide by falling off the Notre Dame. By herself, Amélie and her vivid imagination created the world we see. Red is Amélie's color, and it represents the love she longs for. It's in her house and pretty much all she wears. Green directly contrasts with red, so it makes for the best eye candy, and it's shown contrasting directly to love. The use of the two complementary colors in many scenes is representative of Amélie's inner conflict with herself. As she tries to grow in the world around her, her growing pains are projected into the scenes. From the way the bedroom to her living room is set, each color choice describes Amélie's conflict in the moment. Jeunet knew exactly what he wanted this film to look like. Inspired by the work of Brazilian painter Juarez Machado, he used the color schemes in his art to set the world and tell the story of a young woman wanting love and to live a life she never got to. Color is a tool to enrich the meaning and impact of the scene. It can be used to add depth to emotion, portray the development of a character, and paint the atmosphere of a film. These 3 films set the golden standard of what it means to use color properly, but standards are always meant to be surpassed. So, what will you make?